Boom! Here we are. Welcome. Welcome back to another episode of Tom Salta Masterclass Live. I'm really happy to have all of you here today. And for you out there in YouTube land, first things first, is the sound working right in YouTube land? Please tell me. Oh, God. You know how many the last two things we've done live, we've had all these stupid audio problems, and the last one was due to a software upgrade. I'm like, oh my God, really? The first time we did this, it worked perfectly, so I'm like, now it's just gotten progressively worse. But anyway, so we're here today, and this is great, and I have a whole bunch of you all with me today on from TS Masterclass Live. So welcome, everybody. Hello. Put your hands in the air. Yes, this is all live and interactive, folks. And you, too, can be a part of this if you become a student. So this is great. So today we're going to just spend a little time making a nice special announcement to talk about the recently released game Deathloop and the score that I made for the game. I'm so thrilled about the response that Deathloop is getting. That's one of those kind of things that in your career you can't plan that. You know, I'm just lucky to be part of something that got that successful. I mean, the game just, you know, is being received unbelievably well, and man, and I'm so glad that the music is received well too, because you know, doing something that's that off the beaten track can be a risk. But, you know, it was great. So I want to welcome everybody here. And I'm going to show you a little preview of this brand new course, which I'm going to be releasing this month, or actually technically next month, in October. So in less than a month from today, I'm going to be releasing a 7+ hour course of how I put together the score for Deathloop. And this is something I've never done before. This is going to be a course where it's like you were sitting with me in the studio, and it's going to be from beginning to end. So I'm going to be showing you everything from my original reading of the brief to early, you know, reference music that I started listening to, some reference music that the client provided, reference music that I found, and we had conversations back and forth. So you're going to hear reference music. I think I had over 100 different pieces of reference music. You're going to hear early ideas that no one else will hear of, just like some of my early ideas of stuff that never made it into the game. You know, so I like to call that the sandboxing. You're going to hear the earliest ideas of a theme. You're going to see a track by track breakdown of the main theme and all the areas in the game, all the main areas. This is going to be like unprecedented. I'm going to show you the way I name files, the way I organize the stems, the way I did the mixing, the whole strategy, everything, right up to the delivery. So if you ever wanted to know what it's like to be part of a AAA score and make it from beginning to end, this is the course to get. Okay, and I'm going to be offering a very deep pre-order discount. So it comes out in October, but if you order before it comes out, I'm going to be giving $170 off of it. $160 off of it. 160, yes. Okay, and I will provide that code during this thing today. Okay, so cool. So before I show a little preview of it, does anyone have any questions, or do you want me to just get into the preview? Any questions? Oh, we have some more people joining us. This is awesome. Come on in. Excellent. Joining in. Okay, cool. All right, great. So I'm trying to get someone that's trying to get in. I can't get them in. I keep saying admit, and they're not joining. Anyway, all right. So let's get into it. Right here. Let me give you a little peek. This is a quick and dirty peek of the course. I'm just going to jump around between different sections of it. All right. So for you to take a look. So here we go. Hey everyone, this is Tom Salta. I'd like to talk a bit about the musical direction of Deathloop. The first part of any project that I work on is the R&D phase. It's the research and development phase, and I will say that this is probably the most single important part of a project. Ironically, it's the only part where I'm not creating music. This is the part where I'm getting inspiration, listening to reference music, figuring out how I could synthesize all the ideas that we will have together and make some kind of unique musical direction, a unique musical recipe. All right, so next we're going to talk about how music is used in the game, how it's broken down into its various components, all the bits and pieces. We need to get a bird's eye view of the final deliverables. All right, this is where we look at the document and see what the client is asking for. So I'm going to give you a breakdown of exactly what the music in Deathloop is comprised of. All the various pieces and layers and stingers and all of that. Okay, so let's get into it. So I'm trying to come up with more vibey, stealthy, period sounding. Okay, you ready? So let's go down the track list here for all the sounds that I used in the theme. The initial keywords meant to inspire this area and differentiate it from some of the other areas was elite and rich, urban, decadence, right? Drugs, loungy, upper town, game. And I think what by that they meant that this whole thing is kind of like a game within a game, right? People knew they're part of this ongoing thing. All right, now let's jump into the island area. The island map is a small island with military buildings, some of them repurposed as luxurious housings. This is where the boats and planes bringing the new Aeon program members arrived, so it features a cemetery of rusted war and transportation machines. Let's go into some Dawn. This is going to be a little similar. In fact, to make it easier for you, just the Dawn. Tape. This is that echoey sound that we used before in the exploration. Still works. They all blend together. We have our Farfisa. Now, naming is really important, and when people are implementing music in games, they really appreciate when the file names make things very clear as to what the technical requirements are. All right, cool. And that's it. What did you guys think? Awesome. Yeah, we put a lot of work into it, and Chris has been incredible also on the production side of that. So, Chris, you have a question for us.
I do indeed. I'm interested to know how you got involved in the project in the first place. I know you've worked with Arcane in the past. So did they come to you because you worked with them, or did you have to pitch for it? How did that happen?
Yeah. Very good question. So, I had worked with the audio director for Deathloop prior on another game called Wolfenstein Cyberpilot. And that was the VR offshoot of Youngblood. So we had just finished working together on that, and it was a great collaboration, and that was how we met and why I was approached to work on Deathloop. So yeah, he sent me the brief and an idea. Would you be interested in this? And I'm looking at it, I'm like, wow, okay. I mean, this seems like it's going to be a fun challenge but I immediately I was like, there was a lot of risks involved in this, because think about it. I mean, one, it's a time loop game. You know, there are not many time loop games out there. You know, I remember Majora's Mask was one of them, and you know, you got to do those right, otherwise they can get really monotonous. So there's a lot of extra challenges when you do a time loop game, and secondly, you know, doing a game where the music brief is talking about late 60s music, which I don't think is all the rage these days. You know, how to approach that and make it fresh and appeal to you know, modern audiences. That would also be a creative challenge. So yeah, but I'm glad, you know, it all came together. I'm like, whoo, you know, that was really good. So hey, good, and we have folks on YouTube as well, and sounds like the sound's working great. Yay, finally. Tobev, Tyler, how you guys doing? Seko, awesome, and you're welcome. Thank you very much. So I just showed a preview to my upcoming course called Scoring AAA Deathloop Edition, and I'm really excited to share that with everybody in October. So I'm going to be offering, before it comes out, and I'll share the code tonight for the first time, a special code that will give you $160 off the course. If you you can pre-order it today, and you'll be notified the minute it comes out. So let me see if I have a button to show that. I think I have it right here. Right there. There it is. Look. Cool. So it's pre-160-Deathloop, and you're going to find that at, so yeah, so write that down if you are interested, and you will be able to find that on my Masterclass webpage, which is tomsalta.com/masterclass. Okay? So cool. There you go. All right, so let's get back into some more questions. We have Juan. Hey, how you doing, man? Talk to me.
Fine, thank you. I had a question regarding one thing you mentioned on your first answer about the how to keep interesting the music in a loop game.
Yes.
So my question was how you approach that part. In which ways you crafted your music so it keeps surprising the player and not getting old or boring eventually.
Yeah, that is the question, right? I mean, it's bad enough that game music has a tendency to be redundant because it loops already. Now you're talking about a game that has a looping game with looping music, you know, and a theme that you hear all over the place, and you come back and visit things at different time frames. So instead of talking about music, how about I play you some music? And I'll kind of show you what I'm talking about. So let's just take an area. All right, I'm going right to my unreleased soundtrack for Deathloop, which rumor has it will be coming out soon, hopefully. But anyway, this is your chance to hear it for the first time, I guess, unless you went on YouTube and listened to the people ripping it out of the game. Okay, so we have, for example, let's go to the, I don't know, the antenna area? Can we hear this? Can you hear me clear over the music? Okay, good. So what you're hearing right now is a certain area of the map, which I'm calling the antenna area. And this is going to be the first period of the day. There's going to be 4 periods. So this might be either early morning or midnight. I'm not sure because I'm just listening to the music. I'm not looking at my indication. But listen to this, right? So let's just say this is like 1 minute 10 seconds long. I did 3 additional variations of that same 1 minute and 10 second arrangement that has different instrumentation in it. That's a great question, Tobev. I'm going to get to that as one as well. Now, let me jump ahead here. Hold on. I think that's the midnight. Okay, let me jump over here. Okay, so hear this? It's got an arpeggio in it. It's got a little drum thing. It's got a little groove in it. You know, there are all these like different remixes. Here's another remix. See? Now, to also, and I'm going to tie it into the question from YouTube, from Tobev, and hopefully I'm saying it right. I'm sorry. I'm just reading the way it looks on the screen. So what will happen is, at least in the soundtrack version, which is obviously a linear experience, it's not the game, the reason why you hear the calm music first and then it gets into the action music, that's just the way I structured it on the soundtrack. What the calm music represents the exploration sections, the various exploration, you know, when things are calm and you're sneaking around, and then the action music is the fight stuff and the escape. So I could have separated it into different cues and said, like, here's the action, here's the fight, and here's the, you know, the calm stuff. But I decided to kind of link it together. You know, in the 60s, if you listen to any albums from the 60s and the 70s, you might notice that the tracks went on and they connected to each other. And like a Pink Floyd album is like one big continuous listening experience. And I thought it would be kind of fun, given that this is a late 60s inspired score, to do it like that as well. Not entirely where the whole score is one connected thing, but at least each area is one connected experience. So, you know, the tracks go on for almost 13 minutes. And you hear all the calm stuff, and then the fight, and then the escape, and all that kind of thing. So that is the reason for those structures. All right, cool. So let's get into some more questions. Danny Ellis, how are you?
Pretty good. So,
excellent.
I was listening to some gameplay, and there's a combat section with what I think it's a sax solo, and I was gonna ask, was that improvised, or did you actually, you know, write sax lines for the performer? And does this then tie into the how to not make it monotone, you know, when you have so many repeating parts?
Yeah, good, excellent question. Okay, so anytime you hear, let's say, saxophone or I don't care what it is, any live instrumentation that I didn't play, what will typically happen is that I will provide either a lead sheet or, you know, depending on how the instrumentalist likes to create and play, a representation of the theme. Like I'll say, okay, here's my idea. I'd like the theme to be here, but then I'd like to also give you a chance to improvise. I'd like you to add your musical voice to this and just have fun and do what you do. That's the only way you're going to get solos like that. I remember with Philippe Sace, who's, you know, one of my musical heroes. This guy's, I've known him since the 90s. He's played on Shaka Khan records. He's toured with Sting, and he's just one of those cats. I ask him to do a solo. He'll never be able to do the same solo twice because he just feels it, you know. So I didn't want to lose that opportunity. I didn't want to, you know, bind their hands creatively by writing everything out. Yeah, so hopefully that answers your question. It's usually a little bit of both. You know, sometimes we'll say, here, give me some bonus material, bonus tracks, but definitely cover this. You know, I definitely want to hear the and then I want you to do variations of the theme, and then you can just go crazy over here in this section. So I kind of lay it out for them, and that's generally how I do it with instrumentalists, particularly ones who are known for, you know, performing and doing crazy solos and stuff like that. Very, very good question. Cool. All right. Let's see. Let me take a peek. And remember, up here with everybody that's live with me in person, use your little raise your hand button, and I'll definitely come around to you. Let me just take a quick look at YouTube to see. And if I miss anything on YouTube, I apologize, but I'll do my best to make sure that I don't. Okay, but it seems like everybody's okay on YouTube land. I think we're okay still. Looked like someone was having a little trouble. All right, great. All right, cool. So, Chris.
Yeah, I wondered how helpful the client's reference material was, because generally speaking, this kind of thing, I get the impression it's usually quite vague.
Yeah. Well, what tends to happen with reference material is it can go either way. You know, there's two extremes. It can be incredibly vague to non-existent, and then it can go into ultra-specific. And what I mean by ultra-specific is I mean someone can provide reference music and say, I like the drums in this. I like the bass sound in that. And if you're going to provide reference material, I much prefer that, because what reference material allows a composer to do with someone else is to kind of get in that person's head. You want to kind of explain. You can't really talk about music. You know, if someone were to say, oh, I want it like to be hard rock. Now, I think, you know, anyone who's a rocker understands that hard rock to you and hard rock to someone else might sound completely different. But if you start saying, I like hard rock like this, that's the best case scenario, where you start saying, I like the feeling of loneliness in this. So the kind of reference material that I got for Deathloop was like that. Michel was wonderful, and he was very specific. And he also allowed enough space for me to come up with my own reference material. And in the course that I've been talking about, there's a whole course on the reference music. And I mean, I chose, I think, over 40 pieces of reference music myself after a huge list of his reference music. And we went kind of back and forth to kind of talk through it. Just identifying things like, do you like this, this kind of aggressive sound, or does this feel too happy to you? Does this feel a little too dismal? Does this feel, like, I just wanted to kind of get a sense of how he had things in his mind. And I go into that in a lot more detail, showing you, letting you hear the reference music and stuff. But thanks for asking that question. That's really, really important. Greg, hey man, you have a question.
Hey, how's it
Talk to me.
Just a general question. What were some of the biggest challenges, and how did you overcome them on this project?
Oh man, woo. Okay. Yeah, that's a good one. I'll tell you. I think the biggest challenge on this project, or at least the first big challenge, was the beginning phase, which is where I'm trying to figure out the musical recipe of the score. What is it going to make? What's going to make it sound like Deathloop, and not just like another '60s throwback score. And then the second thing is the main theme. What are we going to do with that? So what was interesting is, so let's just focus on the theme. Believe it or not, the main theme of this game that you hear now, the da-da-bum, ba-da-da, that was not the main theme. That actually didn't exist. The main theme I was asked to write was something that was very mysterious. Because the thinking was, we're going to make a theme that represents the island, but not like the inhabitants on the island. We just wanted to have this mysterious, lost kind of sound thing, or what was that 60s late? Was it 1969? What was it? Was it called Mysterious Island? I think it was. That was the movie. And so I did this piece of music, and it was very mysterious. And in fact, it had a lot of the same aesthetic from the 60s. It had a lot of the same, the kind of the road, the reverby sound, the backward sounds, the ticking. It had, I think, in a large part, a lot of the musical recipe of the main theme without the heavy drums and stuff, or the vocals. And about a month into the game, when I started seeing more footage and started getting a sense of this vibrant personality and this tongue-in-cheek, comic booky nature of the game, I'm like, you know what? This theme just doesn't... I don't think it does it justice. It was also a bit more of a obscure kind of a theme. It was very different, not as hooky. So without telling the audio director, I decided to secretly work on a brand new theme in the background. And when I was done with it, I just surprised him like, hey, by the way, I've been working on this. I want to get your thoughts on it. I know that, we all like this other theme and the team approves and everything's good, but this is why I think this would be a better theme. I think it matches the personality of the game. I think it's very loopable. which is the point for Deathloop. I wanted something that you can kind of hear over and over and over and over and not get sick of it. I wanted something that could be treated in many different ways, very like soft and mysterious, but also very actiony. I wanted something that's very memorable, and adaptable. So initially, he's like, "Thank you very much. I can't just say yes right away. I got to sit with this." And a few weeks later, he came back and he's like, "Yep, I agree. You're right. This is the theme." So we scrapped the original main theme, which is good, but it's unreleased. Who knows? Maybe I'll release it separately someday. But yeah, that was probably the most difficult part, was trying to figure out the theme and the overall aesthetic approach to the score. Good question.
Right on. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, man. Thank you. All right, cool. Let's see here. So let me take a quick look on YouTube first. Any other themes? Okay. Don't be shy out there in YouTube land. If you have questions, shoot them over my way. All right, cool. Eduardo, how are you, man?
Tom. Good. So let me ask you something. So the project as a whole was pretty complex, right?
Yes.
And one thing that I was wondering is, did they ask for extra stuff that they ended up not necessarily using it because they wanted to try ideas, or like did they know exactly what they wanted from day one?
Yeah, good question. They did not ask for extra stuff.
No.
Some of it evolved a little bit. So, for example, the mechanisms that they originally had in mind for how the music would work and be triggered and layered did change a little bit. But there was no extra stuff. Everything was put to use. The only extra stuff that exists is the extra stuff that I composed myself while experimenting. So it's not like 100% of everything I made was in the game. A lot of stuff in the earlier phases I came up with, I don't know how many ideas, 14, 20 ideas, and most of them I didn't even bother presenting. You know what I mean? It was just for me.
Yeah.
To sandbox. I mean, if you've seen Game Music Essentials, that course, you'll notice that I value a lot the sandboxing method, because when we tap into that kindergartner creativity that we all have, by the way, and not worry about failure, not worrying about this not working, when we just kind of just let it go and have a little fun, and remind ourselves that, wow, this is supposed to be fun. I'm making music here. This is fun. This is not work. When I remove the pressure of everything I do has to be right and everything I do has to be, on target and purchased and paid, like, that's nonsense. That's not what it's about. You know what I mean? So that's why I allow myself to sandbox at the beginning of everything I do, if there's time. And So yeah, there's a lot of unreleased stuff that you'll never hear. That's the only extra stuff that exists. Anytime I handed it in, pretty much it was used or it was revised and then used. But really, really good question.
Nice.
Cool.
Thanks.
Thank you. All right, cool. We have a question here from Tyler. Was there a conscious decision to use more hardware-based synthesizers versus software to fit the time period, or was it more whatever fit the piece? Okay, so yeah, you know what? When it comes to hardware versus software, that line is really blurred a lot. Now, I think I know what you mean. I mean, when we talk about hardware, in the case of Deathloop, I can just jump to the chase and tell you that there were real physical Rhodes and real physical clavinets and vibraphone and mallets and mini Moog and Singer, of course, and things like that. But it wasn't always because the virtual software version doesn't sound as good. Quite frankly, all that physical stuff was because the player had it. So in this case, Philippe Sace, I mean, he happens to have in his studio a real Rhodes. He doesn't have a real B3 in the studio, so that was virtual. But if you know how to use it and you find the right sounds and stuff, you can have a lot of fun with software synths and virtual stuff. And then and if you know how to process it and mix, I mean, the whole thing really sounds retro. All right, and hopefully, you can't tell unless I didn't want it to sound old. I mean, there are some modern sounds that show in the game, but the aesthetic of it is really late 60s. If that makes sense. So it was a mixture of both. But it was really, we had a lot of fun using the live stuff. I even have a real vibraphone here in my studio that I mic'd up a few times, but quite frankly, seldom was it worth the hassle. I mean, sometimes it was. I mean, if I really wanted to do something really soft and effecty, and it's like too much time to find the virtualization, then I'll bring the mic in there and mic it up and play it. But a lot of times I just had a lot of fun, and it's so much more convenient when you use a software based instrument because you can recall it instantly. You have the MIDI, you can change the sound afterwards, so all of that stuff that made it a lot more easy. Hey Joel, love you too, man. Thank you. Cool. All right, so Adrian, welcome.
Hey,
Talk
thank
to
you.
me, man. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Great score. I really love it.
Thanks so much.
I was gonna ask you about the process, the first part. Like, I understand that first you receive the brief, you receive words, keywords, you do the soundbox process. You start like experimenting with sounds and instruments. But what's the first thing you write? Like for real, like. When you have a blank page, you're just messing around with, like playing, like you said. But what's the first thing to write? Like, do you go thinking of the theme at first, or maybe just atmospheric stuff, exploration stuff? Like, what's the first thing that the client asks for when you're in like big process and long process like this? Because I suppose this could take you like more than a year to write a whole score for a AAA game. So yeah, what's the first thing that they ask for? Like, what's it when you present the first idea of the music?
Yeah. Well, I do want to point something out. You asked multiple questions, and they're not all the same answer. So, for example, you asked, "What's the first thing I write?" But you also said, "What's the first thing the client asks for?" And those are not always the same things.
Okay. Yeah.
In fact, quite often I will write. In fact, all the time, most of the time, unless I literally have to do it by 3:00 today, I don't write what the client asks for because I'm trying to get a grasp of the project. The first thing I write is just random ideas. I can tell you the first thing I aim to write is not the main theme. The first thing I aim to write is not music specifically for the game. Not at all. I like to ease into it. I think I'd be doing myself a disservice if I get right into writing for the project. And the reason I say that is because usually I have a much better grasp of it when I've got my feet wet. You know, like now, if you ask me to write a new area for Deathloop, boom, I'd be able to write something, and I know the formula, I know the recipe, I have the sounds, I know the vibe, I know what works, I know what doesn't work. But the first thing you write, you don't know that. There's no, you know what I mean? You're not going to know as well as you do when you're into it. So I take advantage of that process, and I do not write anything which is intended to be a final product at first. Now, that being said, what's the first thing the client asks for? That's a different question, and that's a different answer. The first thing the client asks for does depend. I know some clients of mine that always ask for the theme first. Always. I know some clients of mine don't care what I write first. They're like, just write music for the game. Please, just make it good. And I know some people are like, well, I'd like to hear the theme, but, you know, do what you think is best. So those are kind of like three variations that I often get. But I think what's really cool is when I'm experimenting, and if I get really excited about something, I might share it. Hey, I just came across this, and I thought this might be cool for, you know, a fight idea. What do you think? Because when I'm testing the waters, a good part of testing the waters is experimenting. And again, I want to encourage all of you as composers to not be afraid of failure. And what we mean and what I mean by failure is don't be afraid of experimentation, doing music that is not intended to be presented as this is what, you know, the final product. Have a little fun with it. Take advantage of the creative process. And you'll often find many people who you'll be collaborating with, your clients or other creatives, will enjoy being part of the creative process. Not everybody does. But I find most often that my clients appreciate being part of it. And I don't mind sharing that with them. Now, I heard that some composers just go into a dark room and, you know, they disappear for 3 months and they submit the score and here it is. You know, I don't do that. I don't know if that's really the way it works out there, but I certainly don't do that. Now, if I'm asked to do that, I will. You know, they're like, look, I don't want to hear from you. Just give us the final thing. Great, no problem. And I have done things sort of like that, where, you know, they're not experienced, they don't know, and they're just leaving it to me as an expert to give them what needs to be done. So I just gave you a very long-winded several answers, and I hope that helps you.
Yes, really good. Thank you very much.
Cool. You got it, my friend. All right, good. And all you YouTubers out there, please, you are part of this conversation. So if you have anything you want to ask me, please go ahead. And if you didn't see the preview of the Deathloop Masterclass course that I'm about to release this next month, let me know. We'll play it again toward the end of this broadcast. All right, so let's moving on. Hey, Dom, how are you, man?
Hello, good, and you?
I'm doing great. Welcome.
Hello, everybody.
Hey. What's your question, man?
So, first of all, I really love this score. I really like it. I don't. It's really like my world. I feel like
awesome.
It's beautiful. No. It's not because it's you. It's because the score.
Good. You know, I don't want anyone blowing smoke here. I mean, you know, flattery will get you everywhere.
No, it's really beautiful. It's really beautiful.
Just kidding.
I really like the last suggestion you gave us. Is really proactive because and I'm really happy to hear this from somebody like you, because it's really something that sometimes I I feel around in some scores for multimedia that, most of the time there are cliche around. In this case, I really appreciate that there is this tip, this suggestion to experiment, because
Yes.
I love to experiment.
Yes.
My question regarding this thing is, usually the theremin is an instrument that is really characteristic for specific atmosphere, specific situations like horror.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Horror, sci-fi,
how-
or aliens.
Yeah. How did you come out? Did you come out with this theremin? And is the theremin a real theremin?
No, it is not.
Okay.
I wish I had my phone. It's an app on my phone.
That's amazing. But how did you? I mean, I don't know if the question is.
I'm gonna run and go get it. Keep going. I can hear you.
Yeah, I mean, how did you come out with that? Regarding experimenting, sometimes I really like to hear sounds that are out of context, right?
Yes.
And then in this case, it's not really out of context, but it's really like it also is like behind the main theme. So it's not the main sound. Usually the theremin is the main one. So I really like the way you use it, and I was just wondering, how did you come out with that? Like,
Yeah. Well, okay. I'm a big sucker for blending sounds together. I'm a big sucker for trying to find unique ways to combine things. So I just treated it like another instrument, like a violin. You know what I mean? I just wanted to treat it like just another color, because that's really what it is. I wanted to give a hint of it, but not dominate the track. So yeah, I mean, this is the right here.
yeah, it's really like interesting the way it's used. That's it. That's why I was fascinated.
Yeah. So there's my little app that I use on the iPhone, and it's hilarious. I mean, it's just great.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
It's so cool. I love it.
Okay,
thank you, Tom.
My pleasure, man. Did I answer the other question though? I mean, that's really the way I think of it. I just think of it as a color to add rather than the feature, And if it's the priority, I'll work around it and stuff like that. So anyway, cool, man. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, we got another question there from Tyler. Hey, Tyler. All right, so when you're writing for games and having to take a non-linear approach to writing loops, what challenges do you face with keeping things fresh and exciting while maintaining the integrity of the theme? Yeah, well, it's all about variety. Keeping track of what I've done and just having fun exploring ways to express the same idea. So that's what a theme is. And so I will take advantage of the setting or the character and have that really define the mood and the texture. But then I use the theme, the notes of the theme, to really communicate what I'm saying. So think about it like, the area that you're in or the character is more about how you say something musically, and the theme itself, the notes you're using, are pretty much like what you say. You know what I mean? You hear that expression all the time. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. Yeah. So how I say it is really the area that I'm doing musically, and what I say are the notes. And I don't know if that was a really aleatoric answer to your question, but but that's the best way I can describe it, or at least that's the way I think about it. And I find that there's an endless way to express the same words and the same notes. So I have a lot of fun with that. Cool. All right, great. And now jump to the next person. And Dom, you can put your virtual hand down. There you go. Catherine, How are you? Welcome.
Good. Sorry, I was a little late today, but I wanted to.
That's
jump
okay.
in.
This is not school.
I know, but I wanted to hear it from the beginning. So, and that my question might have been answered in the beginning, but I just wanted to get an idea of. I love, what I heard. It's really beautiful.
Thank you.
But how did you choose, like, the musical palette, the colors of the instruments that you chose? Like, I know you added a theremin, which is such a cool thing to add. But how did you, what were some of the aesthetics, based around, some of your other choices?
Yeah. Really, really good question. And this came directly out of the first phase of the project, which was the R&D phase, the research and development phase, where I'm listening to and exploring all kinds of references, all kinds of reference music. This project, and this is something that if you missed at the beginning, and I'm sorry to be repetitive, but in the new Deathloop course, which I have just put on for pre-orders today, which will be releasing in October, I go into great detail. There's a whole course on just the reference music and how I pick the sounds. And you'll hear me, I literally went through, this Led Zeppelin song. And I'm like, ooh, I like the electric piano there. I think that'll be cool. Let me try to replicate that. Or I like the guitar tone there. Ooh, I like that kind of a beat. Ooh, I like that kind of a bass line. I like that sound on the bass. I like this, and I basically just, like a little kid in a candy store, went through 100 different pieces of music from that time period. The late 60s, early, 1970, 71. That's it. And I tried to limit myself to, going back to, some of my heroes and the greats, whether it's Jimi Hendrix or Frank Zappa or Led Zeppelin or Yes or, and I went through a million different things. And I'm like, okay, I like this, and I like this, and I like that, and this. And, one of the things that I've been doing since I was, a little kid is just trying to replicate sounds, listen and make it. And so for me, this was a wonderful way to be like, okay, I love that sound. Can I get that? Can I make that sound? Can I imitate that sound? And, by the end of the project, I came with this, not the end of the project, the end of this phase, I came up with this long list, a template of all these sounds. Then I'm like, okay, now we're gonna have some fun. Let me pull up this, this tremolo Rhodes through the reverb and the reverse sound. Ooh, that's cool. Ooh, this is cool. And that's pretty much how I did it. But if you actually want to see it play by play, I mean, you have to check out that course. It's good. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
That's cool.
And again, it's 7+ hours of this kind of stuff, so a lot to go through.
Right.
Cool. Great. Good question there, Catherine.
Thank you.
Let me take this moment to play just a little bit more, and then you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to embarrass one of my students. Yeah. And I think let's say, who has the biggest smile on their face? And what does immersive mean? What does this mean? Choose immersive view. No, I'm not going to do that. I'll have to try that another time. Okay. Yeah, so Manuel, get it queued up. Manuel, I think, is the first person to do a cover of the theme song, or at least the first person to do a cover that I've heard. Here's a little excerpt from one of my favorite parts in the Upper City. I'm going to go to the end where my friend Philippe just goes a little nuts on the Mini Moog. And he has a 1971, which does not have any MIDI on it. So this is all just him off the top of his head improvising. Now here we go. I'm going to go to the end. Just a little clip from the upcoming soundtracks. I mean, come on, that's fun to fight to. You gotta admit. just do like a solo. Oh man, that was so much fun. I'm so glad that able to do music like that in a video game. Whew. Anyway, all right, cool. So Manuel, send me that link, man. I'm going to embarrass you right now to millions of people. or 6. I mean, one or the other. I'm not sure how many people are watching this, but put it in the chat. We're gonna play a little excerpt from Manuel's thing. Did you do it? Oh, you're gonna get the link. All right, good. Send it to me. And I invite all of you to anyone out there that wants to challenge themselves to do a cover of the tune, please do. All right, here we go. Ready? Here we go. I might jump around a little bit, just save a little time. But okay. He's doing the count off with the sticks. The tremolo strings. I feel scared already. Yeah. Yep. I have a sense something big is about to happen. There's none. Ooh, a little orchestral rock do we have here? Manuel? That's fun. I'm going to jump ahead. Breakdown. Uh-oh. Could it be the quiet before the storm? Oh yeah, man. Ooh, choir. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Good. That was awesome. Excellent.
Thank you. It was such an inspiration, the theme. I just had to do something like this.
Oh, man, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. So, again, I just want to say one more time before we sign off. I've never done a course like this before. It's 7+ hours. It's basically the equivalent of you sitting next to me during the entire process, from the beginning of reading the brief all the way through the creative process to naming files and preparing stems and doing quality control. Like the whole thing. If I was training anybody, this is what I would show them. Okay? So, and there's right now a one-time pre-order discount, which is going to give you $160 off. So, and that is going to be right here, the pre-order code. If you're interested, just go to tomsalta.com/masterclass, and the code is right here. So, pre-160 Deathloop. There it is, in case you're interested. And just go to the Masterclass website, and you can pre-order it now. And I promise it's releasing in October. And then once it releases, the price will go to the introductory price. Okay? So, anyway, before we go, are there any other breaking questions here? I guess there are. Eduardo, did you have a question, or is that a leftover question?
Yeah, I actually do have one more question.
Okay, last question for the day. Welcome. Let's do it.
All right. So while you were working on the soundtrack, did you get the chance to test the game, like sort of a way to validate the things you were doing? Did they send you builds or videos or anything like that?
I did not have a chance to play the game. In fact, the first time I played the game was last week. when it came out. And by the way, I finished this score over a year ago. I was working on this between January of 2020 and June of 2020. All right, and it wasn't. I actually wasn't, and that wasn't even rushed. I mean, there was time that I had in between and stuff. But the only thing I could do to test it out was to take some of the footage that they had. Let's say, could you get me a capture of some of the fight footage, just or someone running around and shooting with sound effects, and that was what I would use. I would just put that up against, run that in the background and play it up against that, and I would, exploration. I would just, can you just give me footage of someone walking around, and it was early build stuff, so they have all the debugging stuff on the screen, but yeah, I mean that's the only way I could test it. It's rare when I have an opportunity to play a game that I'm working on. It's happening right now for a amazingly crazy cool horror game that I can't announce yet, but hopefully soon. And I have had a chance to play working versions of it, but that's very rare, very, very rare. Typically I'm working with very little. I remember Hawks. I worked from a spreadsheet. There was nothing. There was nothing at all to go on. So anyway, all right. Good question.
Thanks.
Yeah, man. All right. Well, this was a blast. Thank you so much for joining me. Once again, I'm just going to put this thing in case anyone is interested. Right there. That's the pre-order code. Don't miss it. And I'm going to do this again. We're going to be having another live thing next month. It's going to be September 27th, I believe. Is that right? Is that the last Wednesday? Let me just make sure. It's the last Wednesday of... Oh, I'm sorry. I said September. Sorry. 2, 3, 4. October 27th. October 27th. And for all of you out there in YouTube land, if you want to be part of this conversation live and join me live here, please become a student of the Masterclass. Not only do you get all this great material, but you also have amazing discounts to material. So if you're buying libraries, and things like Cinesample and Arturia, whatever, I offer huge discounts, educational discounts. You can see them all on my website. So it's a great deal for everybody. Okay, and again, the code is pre-160-D-loop. All right, so, and you can always watch the replay again on YouTube. So again, thank you so much, everybody. Am I forgetting anything? No, I think we are good to go. All right, ciao for now. See you later, everybody. Thanks so much for joining me. See you next time. All right. Bye-bye.